So today we're going to talk about the converse to the Pythagorean theorem. It sounds kind of scary, but it really isn't. Basically, what it says is if I have a triangle and I know all of the lengths of all of the sides, I can determine if it's a right triangle. Once again, this is called the converse. So it'll be a new word today. Well, simply stated, it is still using the Pythagorean theorem. 3 squared plus 4 squared has to equal 5 squared. So the leg squared plus the leg squared has to equal the hypotenuse squared. Well, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. Check. This is a right triangle. So let's look at a couple of other ones that are similar to this and determine, using the Pythagorean theorem, whether or not they are right triangles. Well, what happens if I'm given that the sides of a triangle are 11, 10, and 14? Well, simply stated, we know that C is always the longest leg. So that means then that I could square this number, and together those should equal that number squared. So I have 11 squared, which is 121, plus 10 squared, which is 100, has to equal 14 squared. Well, 14 times 14 is 196. Plugging it into my calculator, I can see that this is 221, and it's definitely not the same thing as 196. So this is not a right triangle. Well, we'll see numbers that are in order. We'll see numbers that are out of order, but we're going to consider all of the possibilities. So let's go into one as we're thinking about it. If I saw a triangle and it had the sides of 9, 3, and 5, well, first thing I need to do is put all of these in order because 9 is the biggest number. So I want to know if 3 squared plus 5 squared is equal to 9 squared. So the smallest, I move the 9 over here. 3 times 3 is 9, and 5 times 5 is 25, and 9 squared is 81. This is definitely not a right triangle. Can't even write, but that's okay. You get the picture of what I'm saying. So let's try another one. What if I'm given 7, 3, and the square root of 58? Well, first thing I need to do is I need to decide which number is the biggest. Well, if I plug this into my calculator, I find out that the square root of 58 is approximately 7.61. So it means that that is the largest number. So everything's in order, which is a good thing. So we'll take 7 squared plus 3 squared, and it has to equal the square root of 58 squared. So 7 times 7 is 49. 3 times 3 is 9. And the square root of 58 squared means that all I have left is what's underneath. So 49 plus 9 is 58. This is a right triangle. Boom. Love it. That was easy. Let's look at another one. What if I'm given the numbers 6, comma 2, comma 3. Those are the side lengths. Well, I know that 6 is the biggest, so I know I'm going to rearrange it. 2, 3, and 6. So I'm going to square 2, I'm going to square 3, and then I'm going to square 6. 2 squared plus 3 squared equals 6 squared. 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, and 6 times 6 is 36. No, it's not a right triangle. It's not a right triangle. So let's try another one. What if I'm given these numbers? 9, 10, and the square root of 181. Well, I don't know the square root of 181. I don't know what that number is, so let's find out. So plug it into my calculator. Second, square root 181. I get that it's approximately 13.5. So these are in order. That's a good thing. So we'll square, but we're going to square the square root of 181. And then I get 9 squared plus 10 squared has to equal the square root of 181. So 9 times 9 is 81. 10 squared is 100. 100 plus 81 is 181. Is this a right triangle or is it not? Well, the question was, it should be the square root of 181, not 181. So this is not a right triangle. So let's recap before we go on. I'm given 3 numbers. It doesn't matter what order the numbers are in. First thing I do is rearrange those orders so that they're in numerical order, smallest to greatest, 4, 13, 17. Then I'm going to go ahead and square all of the numbers. Add the first 2, they have to equal the second 2. This is not a right triangle. Let's try one more. If I get 3, 11, and 8, putting them in order gives me 3, 8, 11. Square both all the numbers. Put my plus here, my equals there. I get 9 plus 81 or 64 is 73. This is not a right triangle. Remember, order smallest to greatest. Then we simply square all numbers. The 2 smallest have to equal the largest. So we're given sizes of all 3 sides of my triangles. I'm going to put them in order, square those numbers, add the 2 smallest ones together. They have to equal the largest number. Okay. So follow the outline on this, and I will have one more video in between when we're talking about obtuse and acute angles. Talk to you in a few minutes.